Welcome to My2Pence. Today I'm taking a look at Railway Empires, made by Gaming Mind Studios and published by Kalypso Media. Kalypso have published a variety of other strategy games, including the Port Royale series, Dungeons, similar to the Dungeon Keeper series, and the Tropico series, to name a few. Gaming Mind Studios is based in Germany and have released a couple of notable series, including the Port Royale and Patrician series. I haven't played these myself, but have heard good things from those with a taste for empire building games. Railway Empire was released in January 2018 and is all about managing a railway company in the middle of the Great American Train Revolution, with the campaign focused on the creation of the first transcontinental track that will stretch all the way from Iowa to San Francisco. Each mission you'll be given a couple of tasks. Some of these are optional, but all of these have a time limit. You'll need to complete these tasks before the end of the year, or potentially fail that mission. Later missions will introduce rivals, some foolish AI that will attempt to set up their own railway networks and compete against you. Each of them have their own particular bonuses and preferences for how they're going to build their networks. You'll need to expand your network by adding new stations to cities and rural businesses, arranging trains to carry both passengers and freight between the cities. In turn, those cities that are well cared for and provided with all the necessary amenities will grow. A prosperous town has greater demands and can thus provide you with great business potential. There are also additional scenarios available for additional challenge if you'd like. As the game's been out for quite a while, there's quite a few DLC packs. I will recommend, if you want to actually get into this game and buy all the DLC, you might as well get the complete collection rather than buying them separately. There are about 8 DLC packs at the moment, which are like their own little campaigns. You can buy each of them for around about £10, or you can just buy the collection for about £32. So best bet is just buy the full collection. Also, looking up some community areas. They're not particularly active social media wise for this game. They have got a subreddit for Railway Empires, which has got a couple of people in there, and a fairly vacant Discord. Sadly, as a single player game, there's no co-op shenanigans to get up to. In saying that, the game itself is very satisfying and can be quite relaxing, so let's get into it. So, as you can see here, there's a couple of different options. You've got your sandbox, just for your playing around sort of ideas, and your free mode where you've got some bits and pieces. You've got various scenarios and different challenges. So there's plenty of gameplay in this. Plenty of playtime available. It's not like a 2-minute thing you're done in like half an hour. You can play it for a couple of days quite easily. Now their campaign itself is broken up into 5 main missions. As you can see here, I have spent a little bit too much time enjoying the game actually playing the missions as opposed to just making a video. So the very first chapter, it's literally teaching you how to play the game, some of the basics. Not very exciting to look at. Then you move over to chapter 2. This is a bit more interesting actually, and I managed to get myself a top tier scoring. But let's go to chapter 3, because that's definitely got a lot more going on. Hop into that. Got a couple of options you've got here. Biggest one is pause. All it does is affect your score, so if you're going to be really panicking about the actual time, you know what, for the sake of this I can do manual because I'm talking a lot.
Planning.
Got loads of different characters
and hard facts.
Obviously can't change them in the campaign, so this guy's fine. As you can see, he's basically based around building factories, which I will cover.
The economic upswing allowed the railroad to grow steadily, and as settlements suddenly appeared on the timetables, which until now had been in the middle of nowhere, the country had grown closer. Soon, entrepreneurial vanities and greed fueled the railroad tycoons' first rivalries for lucrative routes and connections. Meanwhile, the Mississippi formed a border between the vibrant centers in the east on the one side and the untapped settlements and new markets in the west on the other. Yet technological innovation, unbroken pioneering spirit, and a good nose for business would soon bring down this barrier as well and drive the triumphant procession of the railroad on unimpeded.
So, you're
Okay,
the crazy
I'm going to rudely talk over this guy. Basically, it's a little bit of dialogue to give the game a bit of character and give you some purpose behind what you're playing. So, in this game, the most important thing is the various cities. So, Toledo, your Grand Rapids, Chicago, Indianapolis, blah blah blah. On the minimap here, you can see the different cities.
give it a
if
try.
they've got a bigger circle around them, I can't remember what
My
that actually
name
means.
is
That's a good point.
Cornelius Vanderbilt.
The entire point
Cornelius
of this,
Vanderbilt.
essentially, is you want to start
I'm
getting...
sure you've
I've
heard of
completely
me.
lost my train of thought
I'm not
there.
so optimistic
Bad
about the
pun
future
aside.
of the railroad and
So,
prefer to
you have
invest
various
in
cities in this game.
waterways.
And the idea
But you
is that you
never
want to
know.
actually help these cities develop
So
and
I'm
grow.
interested in what
let's
goals you are
pause.
pursuing.
So, if we click on Toledo, got loads of information presented to you. You've got the city size, which those little pips. You've got the amount of people that live here, the consumption amount that they have, so 13.8 carloads per week. Your trains can take 8 carloads, so that basically is less than 2 trains worth of stuff a week. And it's got a fulfillment of demand. For the city to continue growing, they need to be above 60% of what they demand. You open this up, we have a couple of different columns. So you've got how much of the stock is in the city at the moment. So they've got plenty of grain at the moment, no cattle, and they do want a lot of it. Weekly demand is how much of these they want per week. So ideally you want to be delivering at least this much per week to fulfill their demands. And if they produce stuff, such as in here, they produce meat, they produce it at 2.4 carloads a week. And then you've got like a quick overview of the entire city, so how much is all the cities in the entire game wanting. In this case they all want loads of cattle, and how much is produced across the board for all the cities. So you can see here very quickly, cattle is not being produced enough and there's a big demand for it. Sorry, there's a big demand for it and not being produced enough. You can basically flip between the cities that I control. In this scenario you're given another rock island as well, but we'll ignore that for now. It's a special mission. So, essentially we're going to want loads of cattle. We can get cattle by having a quick little overview here. So if we click flow of goods, it gives us a quick little overview of where all the resources are. So you can see a little arrow up here, poke his head out, and then we can see him here producing cattle. He currently doesn't have like a relationship with any cities to produce and give the cattle to people. But down here we've got another one, and this one is going directly here. These arrows basically indicate that there is a travel between this producer and this city wanting to consume those resources. In this case, if we click on this guy, back to flow of goods, oops, you can see that absolutely all of it is being done by coach. None of this cattle is being done by trains. Likewise, you can do that with all of them. So if I go back to flow of goods, cities also have passengers and mail as like special stuff, like a special resource. Toledo, you can click on it and you can see that it wants to go to Grand Rapids, wants to go to Chicago. By and large, passengers and mail want to go to every single city, for the most part. There is no passenger that wants to go to a city over here. They don't want to go to Rochester, for example, which is fine. So, what we want to do is find what's going to make us the most money and start building towards that. This game is an awful lot about planning. So eventually we're going to want to get all of these resources connected to our networks. They start using our trains to send the resources around, and when the cattle place here starts sending its cattle to a city, they pay per carload. So we know for a fact that Chicago and Toledo want to connect to each other, so that's what I always normally do. Let's make a big warehouse here. Now this is going to be my own little thing, because I like to do this. I'll explain what I'm doing in a moment. So I've got a big warehouse which connects those two things together. He's definitely going to want to store... Well, it's kind of pointless to store any of that. Store that. Now we want to connect all the cities, so let's get a train station here. I'm going to plop you this way around, because eventually I want the railroads to go around this gap here. It's much cheaper to have like rails on the ground as opposed to making bridges. In fact, I'll probably very quickly show that off. So I click there, and I click on these little nodes. If I want to build a bridge, so here you can see the bridge is going to cost me 15,000 almost. If I do that, no bridges required, it's 28,000. I do that, it's okay, it's about the same because of the way that it's done, but it's because I'm trying to get like down here. If I wanted to go over that direction or something, it really depends on how you're going to build your train tracks up. It's all about the distance and track and so on. Obviously that track is now a complete garbled mess, let's delete that. So, we want to connect up this city with this city. So what I'm going to do is grab this, plop you on that one, make sure it makes sense, good. Build another one here to here. And the reason I'm doing it across a warehouse is because I want this warehouse to have freight-specific stuff on these, and the passengers I want as straight a line as possible. I want passengers to go straight through to the cities. Things like mail and passengers are considered express resources, and so what they really want is that they want to get to where they want to go, to whichever city, as quickly as possible. They don't want to waste time waiting around. That's going to cost 130,000. I could raise the... Yeah, let's do that. That's going to save me a lot of money. Build that. And I've already explained why I'm using 2 lines as well. Once I've connected this all up. So I spent 700,000 so far. It's very expensive. Right, we're going to want supply towers. Let's plop you there and there. Can I actually change the line of which side it's on? Oh, I can. In that case, click you. Yeah, delete. Go here, supply tower. Let's hold shift and rotate this side because I'm eventually going to have these tracks go forward. So actually, let's plop you there because these tracks will eventually move forward and then merge with Chicago, or even have their own dedicated place for Chicago. Likewise, this side's got supply tower. That's fine. Signals. Right, this is an important one. So I'm going to use this line to go in, that one to go out. As you can see, this basically means that trains can go up this way, and ideally they're going to enter Chicago on this track, turn around and leave on the other track. But you'll notice there's no way for the two trains, you know, if you come in on this top line, you can't flip over the other one. So let's just fix that. So they're all set up. We go back to the tracks, and so someone comes in this top one, turns around and goes back out, and then they can use this to basically rotate onto the other track. Likewise, that way around too. Yeah, because eventually these will connect up and people going out this way might want to carry on somewhere else. That's fine, just a quick little thing like this. Doesn't cost a lot. All sorts of tricks you can do, and it's just a very nice basic simple thing. There we go. So now a train can basically enter the city, turn around and come back out the other line. So, the other thing that's important to do is on signals. You want to hold control and click on the railroad. What this does is it creates these little pips. What that means is that it should be on both sides. Okay, it's on both sides, it is. What this basically means is that it divides the track up into different segments. So let's say, in fact, we can see here, this is a segment, another segment, another segment. If a train is here, heading down towards Chicago, and there's a train in the segment in front of it, it will stop at the edge of its track. And this train here will just sit there, and it's full, so it won't move forwards. If the train here moves into this segment, this train sees that this is now free and it moves forwards. Theory says that for the most part, trains will be going roughly the same sort of speeds. You can get some disparity if you're not careful. And by the time that a train has gone through this track segment here, the train that was in front of it has passed through this one. So by the time he hits this, he'll go, oh, that one's free, oh, that one's free, oh, that one, and it'll just keep moving forwards. This basically lets you send multiple trains down the same track. If you do not do this, and you just had one big track with no signals, then a train that wants to go down this up to Chicago's path would basically see all of this as one big line. And if there's another train anywhere along this, even all the way up to here, it will just wait until they do not even move, which means that this guy wouldn't even leave until the one that was going to Chicago turned around and started going this way. So obviously that's a lot of dead time where they're not doing anything, so you want to put the signals down again. Very useful. Hold control, click. Okay, now we actually want some resin threads, so let's get a new network. Let's get Toledo to Chicago. I'm going to make this one a passenger and mail only for now, because they're not really changing resources particularly much. Save on that, add a locomotive, add him, go to rail cars. We now got bonuses, so he's going to basically only send passengers, which is tickets, and mail, which is mail. So we tick on those two boxes, and now he's going to basically get passengers and mail and make more money because of that. And conversely, in the other direction, do the same thing. Passengers and mail only, click on that. Yep. Where's that train? Oops, shoot, I've messed up. Go back. Click train list, new rail line. So I'm going to put up Toledo, Chicago. Set up rail, yep, that's fine. That one. Add a locomotive. Apply that. Rail cars, dialing on that. And now they're going to basically go between each other. Cool, nice and simple. So, the other important thing I want to do here is I want to start connecting resources to this warehouse. So, all cities tend to want a little bit of grain and some corn. You can see here they want one of each. So if I can connect these two businesses, sorry, this business and this business together, I can supply that to Chicago and Toledo. So again, does he want grain? Yeah, he wants quite a lot of grain. Does he want corn? Yeah, he wants quite a lot of corn. Brilliant. So what I'm going to do is build some more train stations here. Is that the best way of doing it? Am I going to connect them up? Again, it's all about the planning. So I'm going to want to use So I've got 4 lines here. These are going to be my freight, these are going to be my express. These freight, I want to connect up to as many things as I possibly can. So if I get a small train station here, yeah, you see, it'll be difficult to go all the way up there and do its thing up there. So instead, yeah, okay, so for now, let's just keep it simple. I'm just going to plop you there-ish. Oh, another thing to mention, as you can see when I put down a small train station, you've got this little circle. You cannot build train roads or anything inside of this circle. It's basically the farmer's land, he doesn't want you there. So the other thing to keep in mind is if you were to expand from a small train to a larger train station, so in fact I'll just click here, click on him, I can expand the station, and you can see it's now building the tracks this way. So you want to be careful about where you position these train tracks. Now I can delete it and get all my money back, which is lovely. Let's now connect this up. Oh, it's a bit wonky. Connect him up. Oh, did I do supply stations? No, I forgot supply stations. No, I did the supply towers. Okay. Small train station. Let's plop you something like that. I can make you connect to this line there. Connect you like that. So this way, I'll show you in a second. Again, the same sort of thing on this side. And so if we go to the signals, I can see the routes the trains are taking. So, right, I want you to go that way and you that way. So basically now a train from Chicago can come up, use this line to come up here to Perry Farm, and then carry on its way down to Toledo. Oh, I just realised I was doing something different in this game. Yeah, fair point. That's fine. Not quite what I was thinking. I'll just plan for future references, I guess. So I'll plop you there to there. So eventually I'm going to have travel going in this way and out that way. But for now, we're going to share some track. It makes it a lot cheaper than me. Well, I can share all this track here and it will only cost me 5,000 to do that. Or I need to build you all the way over here and suddenly I'm spending 30,000. Again, I got 1 million, I can afford that, but a couple of those and suddenly you're losing money. So, start again. So I want you to connect on this track to that one. You can make it smaller by dragging. There you go. Done. If I go, so how's track going to go that way as well? So again, and then here to here. Well, they can all rotate around anyway. What have I done? Yeah, I need this to merge over that way, but technically he can leave and just merge down that way anyway because I've got signal controllers, so that's fine. Okay, so let's say that I want this guy to go here. So if he goes to the warehouse and drops it all off, it's not going to be very valuable for me, so instead he's going to go from Perry Farm to the warehouse to Chicago, through the warehouse, to Toledo, and back up that way. Bit of an odd route, but the idea is I don't want trains, like if I was to set up a train that went to Perry Farm to Chicago, he would get a full load of corn from here, travel all the way along, go to Chicago, and then it'd be an empty train on the way back. By having him go empty to warehouse, he's going to pick up some resources that maybe Toledo wants, drop it off in Toledo, and then on the way back, grab some more corn and do the entire thing again. Loads of different ways of maximising this sort of stuff. So the other ways of making money in this game, because the entire point is that you want to build these cities up. If we go to the businesses, so down here they've got 2 businesses. They've got a sawmills which needs wood and it turns it to lumber. As you can see, not being supplied with any wood whatsoever, so it's got no utilisation in the last 3 weeks. It's going to be basically a worthless business. I could buy it out for 200,000 and then, being a shrewd businessman, go to flow of goods, click wood, and you can follow this little arrow down here and you can see there's one down here. I could buy this business out and then get a direct line up to Toledo, and now there's an express line of wood going to my sawmills and producing that lumber that can go to all over the world, or in this case all over this little land. This means that I can make a lot of money on each of those journeys and then sell the lumber. So it's also about looking out for things like that. This, for example, corn is going to be very useful, but it's worth 400,000. So if I go ahead and just buy that, now it becomes a bid, so anyone else can also try and buy it off me if they wanted. The game is paused though. Okay, now I've bought that. So I now own this. It says here I purchased it for 400,000. Total profit is 15,000
my
so
dear,
far.
are we competing with each other again?
So
that is a nice
I want to be
surprise.
careful about this.
Things might not have
What's he
gone
doing
so
here?
well
He's
for
going to
me
the
last
warehouse.
time, but I've got more up my sleeve this time.
So it's a very simple
Some
way of just
people with money
connecting
find
one
it
little thing,
difficult to
one little
resist
station
me,
to your
if you
network.
follow my
Keep in
meaning.
mind, as someone enters up here to pick
good
up stuff,
luck.
the trains can
Even
carry
if
on
you're
going
not
through,
going
and
to
then he
have
should
much
wait
of that.
before he can carry on again. So it shouldn't slow things down too much. Anyone that wants to go directly between them should go through. Like I say,
Top hat and tails
I'm
suit
eventually
me,
going to have
but
4
I'm
tracks.
happy I don't have to wear
These ones are
such
going to be my
things.
express line,
I'm sure
so I
we'll
can
have
get the
lots
best
of
money
fun.
I can for
But you need to be
passengers.
cautious of
and
the
then
nice
these are
lady,
gonna be,
otherwise she'll
straight.
just roll you over.
Now I only
But
have
if we work
400,000
together,
left, so it's been very
luck will be
expensive
on
to do
our
this.
side.
Theory says these things are connected up, so warehouse, you're getting sugar, you want corn, and you want bricks. Okay. The other thing I haven't done yet is, let's go inside of this. I want to construct a maintenance building. I'm not going to do it in that city. Everything eventually is going to go through this warehouse, so let's throw together a maintenance building. For now, because it can be
I
nice and
heard your
convenient.
target is Omaha. You can forget that. Or is the train supposed to fly over the
Cool,
Mississippi?
so that's some of the main stuff going
Negotiations
over
over a
that.
bridge are ongoing.
Right, the
But
big thing is
that's
I need
a
to connect more
long
resources
story.
up to Toledo. I know he wants the
Sure,
caravans down
the
here,
network
so
is
if I
somewhat
grab,
patchy
can I buy
in the
that
east,
quickly?
and you could
How
take
much is
care
that
of
worth?
Toledo and the other
303,000,
cities
that's going to
first.
be quite profitable.
But is it really worth
How about
establishing
this
a
one up here?
network there?
151,000, so this one is struggling. This guy's got a much better business. In fact, we go flow of goods, cattle. We can see he has direct relationship with Toledo, supplying them with cattle, and this one doesn't have any relationship with anyone, so he's just producing and not sending it anywhere. So what I could do is I could buy this one dirt cheap and then build a railway network that goes all the way down to Toledo and Chicago. But I then have to pay 150,000 for the business, and then I need to get railway tracks that go all the way down to Chicago and others. Again, that's going to be expensive because I've got to go all the way down here. But I am going to try and have a look at how expensive that would be. So let's get... Oh, they're not below that. Yes, cancel that. So if I plop you up here, just as like a little estimator. Okay, so it's going to cost me quite a bit of money to do this. Scrap that. So it's a good idea, but it's very risky. So let's try. Okay, other people want to buy it potentially. Oh yeah, I paid 400,000 for that business down here, didn't I? So I'm going to be 40. Did I actually win the auction?
Congratulations.
Good.
But there's
So,
probably
I
a
spent
reason why no
so
one
much
else
money
placed
on
a
this.
bid.
So, get a little train station down here. And I need to build this track. Track here. Probably going to be the simplest, just a straight line there if I can. Okay, as you can see, what the game is trying to do is actually make it as flat as possible. The height of the land here matches with the land over there, but then it needs a huge bridge, which is going to cost me $443,000. It's way too expensive. So instead, you can click on the track, and basically it matches the current height of the land, so it becomes a flat railroad instead. As you can see, no bridges anymore. It only cost me $93,000. Much more palatable. That way. Connect you there. It's not a great network for later, is it? But for now, that's okay. So I'm going to spend a small fortune to achieve this. Keep in mind, there's no current way for them to get up that way, so trains will come in this way and then go back out that way. So you are going to want to store cattle. Good. Now in another train, so here to here. This is only purely going to be lifting up. So So let's have a look see here then. He's going to get cattle and drop it at the warehouse and then do nothing else but go straight back up here. It would probably be much more useful for him to go from here, down to the warehouse, to Chicago to pick up some passengers and stuff, go to Grand Rapids and then carry on his way to Campbell Ranch. Unfortunately, it's going to cost me more money than I have right now. So if I speed the game up a little bit to make it a little more exciting. So he's dragging this down there. In fact, if I click on him again and I go set up rail line and I add Chicago, it just adds that little bit more value to his route. Because it's a long section, he's doing nothing with it. Get to the train station, get a small train station. This is going to choose where I'm going to expand, so that's probably the best idea. And the same kind of thing again, so connect it up that way, and join. Connect it that way, and join. Get some signals. So now I can get multiple trains doing the same thing. Obviously, as you can see, I have no monies. And we'll let them do their little thing now. And you can see here I'm making a bit of money. So if I go over to train list, filtered by balance, I forgot I put the game in pause, so nothing's really happened yet. These trains are obviously going to do their little routes, and as they do routes, they drop things off and we earn some monies. So, in fact, I'm going to watch this cargo get dropped in. Look at him go, speeding away. There we go. And then we'll get him dropped off and making some money, but after he's finished, it tells me I've earned 16,000. So for 8 cartloads of cattle, each cattle cartload is worth 2,000, so I made 16 grand on that. And now he's an empty train, but he has got full speed, off on his way to the warehouse. After he's got supplied him. And off he goes, his face is flipped all the way up here, on off his way there. He didn't seem to stop at the warehouse though. Campbell Ranch to the warehouse to Chicago. Ah, I forgot to put warehouse. Then back there, yeah, that's my mistake. Anyway, next time he does that will be okay. In fact, I can just cancel that. Actually, I'll modify that. And I'll say he wants to go from the ranch to the warehouse, to Chicago, through the warehouse, to the Grand Rapids, to Campbell Ranch. What I can also do, because this should be a fairly ludicrous... I actually have express lines, so if you look here, that's an express train, which means I get bonus money for passenger drop-offs. But there are better trains out there, so people will go, hang on, I'm not getting the fastest journey time here, I just want to take different routes. Yeah, I can afford this. Go away, shoot. Right, so let's select the... Where's he gone? Ah, there he is. I can then clone this train, flop, and now he'll start the exact same journey up here. I'll get a copy of him. Shoot. And you can see I've got another train right here on his way to do more stuff. We've also got the research tree. As you can see, there is quite a lot of research. Everything is normally based on different eras. So, for example, I'm in the 1850s. You want to basically research this stuff. You've got a mixture of different things, but for the most part, it's either going to be new trains. You've got a big main track here for the main trains, with some offshoots that have different benefits. So if we go to, for example, this one, 27 miles per hour speed, 54% tractive power, and it's suitable as a freighter, as a freight train. If we go over this one though, we've now got 32 miles an hour with better tractive power. It's more expensive though. So this is a much better train than the Philadelphia. And the faster they can do their journeys, the faster they can do the cartloads, the faster they can do, earn you some money. This is the faster train, with a very low tractive power, but as a result, it's not very good at taking loads of heavy cargo up steep inclines, but it is good for taking passengers from one city to another, assuming it's a fairly straight line. And I also need to unlock 2 other technologies in this area, so at the moment I've only got this one. So I want to buy this.
Oh, this
so
new
eventually I want to buy that,
locomotive
which
looks
reduces the purchase
impressive.
price of new locomotives by 30%, which is a good saving early game, because you're going to buy a lot. Ah, I forgot about that. Supply tower, let's put you there. Did I put it on the right side? No. Delete that. Yep. And then shift There we go. Cool. Yeah, and that's basically the big part to it. Okay, so that's basically the idea behind the networks and how you build things up. As you can see, Toledo's slowly getting its fulfillment demand up. There's a whole bunch of other stuff, so there's what you've got tasks. This should basically make a big impact on the decision you're making. So, the way this all works is that you have a couple of tasks you have to achieve for this mission.
Is broken down.
And then the year you have to achieve this in. So it could be as much as the end of that year. Connect 10 raw businesses to your network. 4 businesses, one of these little farms and stuff here. So I could easily connect these 3 and get another 3 more. You can see there's all sorts of different mission types here. And then there's another required mission, but it obviously has a later date. And then down here, optional tasks. You've got these. These won't, if you fail these, it won't kill the mission, but you'll get less points. You know, it's a challenge for yourself to achieve. So this one at the moment says 100,000 population in Toledo. So I need to keep maintaining Toledo's fulfillment past 60%, so that it can keep growing, and then connect up these other cities. There's also the company areas as well, so this can actually give me a quick little overview of my company, how much I'm worth. At the moment I'm only worth 2.5 million, I've only basically just started the game. And then it's like a breakdown of where that money's basically been spent and where that value comes from. You get like a little report showing each quarter. And you can also have a look-see at your competitors and what they're doing. So you can actually buy out your competition. So for example, at the moment, she's really cheap. Obviously we're not making a lot of money, but it's a good idea to basically buy out a good chunk of her shares. The reason you want to do this is because if you buy shares in her company, her value will go up,
into this business
but
might pay off.
it does mean that your value is
After
going to go
all,
up, which
I
makes it
also
harder for
profit
them
when
if they were
share
to grow really
prices
quickly
increase.
to buy you out, because part of the value of their company is now in your company.
Investing in my company.
And in this campaign, she is going to go up a lot. Banking activities, a couple of other things here. So let's say you're in desperate need of some cash, you can do a bond. A bond basically means that you can borrow up to 10% of the value of your shares, or 15% I think, it's might be 0.2.9. You then have to pay that off over time. At the end of every quarter, which is every 4 months, you will have to pay this percentage of the amount that you've borrowed. So if I have to pay 4% of 90,000, it's only going to be a couple of grand. If I have to pay 8% of 400,000, it's a lot more money you have to basically pay off. The idea is that you want to borrow money short term. You want to borrow 300,000 because you're going to make 350,000 very quickly. You can do the same sort of thing with the stock market as well. So all the different goods that we saw here break up into different sort of areas. So obviously you've got your different foods, then you've got your various manufacturing goods, and so on. What you can do with that is if you want to focus on, say, lumber and wood, you might want to get wood, raw materials, all the way up to industrial goods like the lumber and clay and brick and all that sort of stuff. You invest heavily into this, and eventually that price might go to 3,000. And now if you invested 100,000 today, in a year game time you could then make 300,000 back or 400,000 back, and then you can reinvest that elsewhere, and so on.
One of your trains.
So there's a lot of options there. Eventually you can actually buy out your competition as well. With a merger. At the moment it will cost me 2.5 million to merge with them. Merger basically just takes over their business. So
Don't make
as you can
such
see on the
a
map
fuss.
here, we've got
A bit
Beatrix
of bad press never
connecting up
hurt
these
anyone.
cities. Beatrix tends to like connecting cities together because she gets lots more money from passengers and mail, so you can see that she wants to just go express line straight in. We've covered the research tree, which obviously most of it is based on various perks. Oh, you've got trains and locomotives, and also a different one here called company construction. So there's 2 different tech trees, and they give you different types of benefits. So for example, this is saying that your profits on factories will go up. Your transportation fee per freight car goes up by 8%, so you get a bit more money. Your innovation points goes up by 10%, and per month you're going to gain innovation here for 40, and then that lets you buy more research. Other thing I haven't talked about is the Chicago. As you can see here, it's a big city. It unlocks this extra spot here, which allows me to buy special city buildings. Attractions increase the amount of people travelling to a city by 20%, you can see down here. So if you're really heavy on transport and express lines, this can give you a 20% increase. A museum can help with the fulfillment demands, and a university increases your innovation points by 4. So you can keep buying this to keep getting more points. Obviously the earlier you do this in the game, the more innovation points you will get. By buying just one of these, you're going to get 10% more innovation across the game. So in a year, you'll end up with an extra 48 innovation points. Not a lot, just for the one, because it's a minimum of 100 for any innovation, but obviously long term it will basically mean that you're like 1 or 2 techs ahead of people. You've also got employees, which has got its own little system altogether as well. These guys basically give little perks to your train, so as you can see here, through skillful control of the steam supply, the maximum speed of the locomotive is increased by 5%. He would be very useful on a express train, whilst this guy's a security guard, and he prevents bandit attacks on trains and increases the freight prices by 5%, so he would be good to give onto a freight train. So if I hire this person on this one, and then I go to one of my trains, so I know for a fact that this, well, in fact if I click my train list, you can see here he's got a little, oh, he did. I can go manage train, I can buy locomotive, I can buy the faster train, I can then go engineer, who's creative, assign him, and then security guard can go to someone that's got a load of freight like this one, and that'll increase the profits I make. That's the main thing. So if I go back to the personnel, which now I can't show, there's also freelancers and office personnel. The office personnel, you've only got 4 spots for your entire company, and they give you various perks. So they reduce the cost of using tunnels, they reduce the cost of building new factories, or the maintenance requirements of your trains, and so on. And then you've got special freelancers that do like special things. So for example, an auctioneer lets me start an auction for a rural business or factory that might even belong to a competitor. So if a competitor owns a really successful business and I don't like them having that, I can get this guy to put an auction in and I can try and buy it off of them. A promoter will increase them. Well, you can read them all down here. There's a load of different ones. Some of them are very good for freight-based businesses, some are good for people-based businesses. It's all about maximising as much as you can. What I tend to do is try and keep an eye on my most profitable businesses. So for example here, Perry Farm to Toledo, very, very profitable. I know that they want cattle, so I could get another train station here to go to Toledo, and that will mean that this place is going to get cattle fulfillment and corn fulfillment. And then eventually you can connect up things like the grain, vegetables and so on to even increase it further. So yeah, quite a lot to the game, to be honest. I gave myself a timer so that this wouldn't go over half an hour, and I've kind of blown past that. But there you go, this is a nice little look at the game. Like I say, there's a lot to it. It's going to be quite a few hours. It can be fairly relaxing, although there was a little bit of challenge if you want to really get into it and maximise what you're doing. There's loads of different designs you can go for. But yeah, hopefully you really enjoyed this little sort of look at Railway Empires. As I say, currently this is free on the Epic Game Store. Otherwise it's about $26.99 for the basic game, which just includes the base game and none of the DLC, or you can buy the DLC for I think it's 30 something pound, about 32, 33 pounds. So if you're going to buy this game and really get into it, you better just buy the complete collection. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.